Hi, my name is Hiroshi, and this is Hiroshi Lawns. Yes, the channel says lawns, and today we are talking about ants marching across your kitchen counter, so my cousin, who runs an actual pest control company outside Sapporo, is probably going to send me a very confused text message after this one. Sorry, cousin. Here is the question that started this whole video. How does the average Japanese kitchen, with rice sitting out on the counter and the windows propped open all summer long, almost never develop a line of ants across the floor while your kitchen turns into a 6-lane ant highway the moment the weather warms up? The answer is not a spray, and it is not a trap. It is a way of thinking, and it works just as well in a kitchen in Osaka as it does in a kitchen in Ohio. The Ants Road, Ari no Michi. In Japanese, there is a phrase, Ari no Michi, which means the Ants Road. It is what you're looking at when you see that perfectly straight line of ants marching from a crack in the wall to a forgotten grape on your counter and back again. That line is not random, and it is not really about the ants you can see. Every ant in that line is leaving behind an invisible scent trail, a chemical breadcrumb path, and every other ant in the colony reads it like a sign on the highway. The ants on your counter are not the problem. They are scouts and couriers. The real problem, the queen, the nest, the thousands of ants you will never see, is somewhere behind your wall, under your slab, out past your foundation, reading the same invisible signs and sending more help. So, we are going to split this into two parts, the same way I always do. First, what to do about the ants that are already inside your home right now, marching across that counter while you watch this video. Then, how to set things up so a new line never forms again. When I was about 7 years old, in my grandmother's kitchen in Niigata, I once followed an ant trail with a magnifying glass for almost an hour, like a tiny detective. My grandmother let me do it for a while, and then she walked over, wiped the counter with something out of a bottle, and the entire trail just stopped existing. I thought she had performed magic. It was vinegar. We are getting to that in a minute. Step 1. Erase the trail. Vinegar wipe down. Part 1. Dealing with the ants that are already inside. The first tool, and it is sitting in your pantry right now, is plain white vinegar. Mix equal parts white vinegar and water in a spray bottle. That's it. No essential oils, no special blend, just vinegar and water in a 1-to-1 ratio. Here is what is actually happening when you wipe this along the trail. The scent trail the ants are following is made of pheromones, and those pheromones break down in the presence of acetic acid, which is the active ingredient in vinegar. The moment you wipe down the counter, the windowsill, the door threshold, anywhere you have seen the line, you are not just cleaning a surface. You are erasing a road. Spray it directly onto the trail itself, not just where you see the most ants. Wipe along baseboards, around door frames, along window tracks, anywhere the line runs. Within a few minutes, you will watch something strange happen. The neat, organized line breaks apart. Ants start wandering in circles, bumping into each other, completely lost. They cannot find the road home, and they cannot find the road to the food, because as far as their chemistry is concerned, the road simply does not exist anymore. Here's the part that the quick fix videos leave out, though. This does not kill a single ant, and it does not touch the colony. It is the equivalent of erasing one road sign on a map that has thousands of roads. The ants that are already out foraging will eventually find their way back by other means, or lay a brand new trail somewhere else in your kitchen the very next day. Vinegar buys you a clean counter for today. It does not buy you a clean house for a year. For that, we need to talk about what does not work, and then what actually works. What doesn't work: sprays, bleach, chalk lines. Now, let me say something clearly about ant sprays, because the internet is full of bad advice on this one. I want to be honest with you. I have, personally, at around midnight, in my pajamas, grabbed a can of ant spray from under the sink and just gone to war on a trail across my kitchen floor out of pure rage. We have all been there. Here's why it does not work, and why, in some cases, it actually makes things worse. When you spray the ants, you can see you are killing the workers standing in front of you. The queen, who is the only ant in the colony that can lay eggs is sitting safely in a nest somewhere inside a wall void, under a slab, or out in the yard, completely unaffected, and she would simply produce more workers to replace the ones you just killed. For some species, odorous house ants, and pavement ants in particular, spraying or disturbing the main trail can trigger something called budding. The colony senses a threat and splits itself into several smaller colonies that scatter to new locations around your home. So the spray that was supposed to solve your one ant problem can quietly turn it into 3 or 4 ant problems in different rooms. Pouring bleach down what looks like a nest entrance has the same issue. Ant colonies can run for many meters underground with multiple entrances, and bleach only reaches the small section you poured it into. It also does a number on your grout and your flooring for what it's worth. And then there's the chalk and cinnamon lines along windowsills. I tried the cinnamon one myself for about a week. My kitchen smelled like a bakery, which was lovely, and the ants simply walked around it and came in through a gap 2 inches to the left. Honestly, just skip all of it. None of it touches the part of the problem that is actually inside your wall. The real method: slow kill bait stations. Now we get to the part that actually deserves the word Japanese, and the part that justifies calling this a permanent solution. In convenience stores and hardware stores across Japan, there is a small box of bait stations that has been sitting on shelves since the 1970s called Ari no Tsukorori, which roughly translates to the ant nest collapses. It looks unassuming, a little plastic dish with a gel inside, but the idea behind it is the entire foundation of how Japanese households deal with ants, and you can recreate the same idea at home for almost nothing. The active ingredient is boric acid, and the trick is that it is slow. It does not kill an ant on contact. An ant that finds the bait eats some of it, survives long enough to walk all the way back to the nest, and then does what ants do, which is share food mouth to mouth with the other workers, the larvae, and eventually the queen herself. This is called trophallaxis, and it is the colony's greatest strength turned into its greatest weakness. The bait spreads through the entire colony before it ever takes effect. To make your own sugar bait, dissolve 3 tablespoons of sugar and a teaspoon of boric acid into 3 tablespoons of warm water. Soak a few cotton balls in it and tuck them into small jar lids or bottle caps. For ants that seem more interested in grease than sugar, which happens more often in early spring, mix a small amount of boric acid into peanut butter instead and do the same thing. Place these little stations near the trail, but not directly on top of where you just wiped with vinegar, since the vinegar smell can scare ants away from the very bait you want them to find. Use several small stations rather than one big one, spread along the trail and near any gaps you've noticed. And here is the part that throws people off every single time. For the first few days, you may see more ants, not fewer. That is not a failure. That means scouts have found the bait, gone home, and told everyone else about the free buffet. Let them. Do not kill them. Do not wipe the counter near the station. Just let the line form and let it run. Somewhere between 1 and 2 weeks later, that line and the colony behind it is simply gone. The Kekai barrier, sealing entry points that handles the ants that are already inside. Now for the part that makes sure a new colony never finds its way in to begin with. At the entrance to many Japanese shrines, you will see a thick rope made of twisted rice straw called a shimenawa, strung between 2 posts or wrapped around a tree. It marks something called a kekai, a boundary line that separates ordinary space from sacred space, a line that impurity is not supposed to cross. I am not saying that your foundation needs a rope of rice straw, although I would absolutely film that. What I'm saying is that the idea, a deliberate line around your home that pests do not cross, is exactly what you are going to build, just with slightly less ceremony. The first layer of your kekai is food-grade diatomaceous earth, which is a fine powder made from the fossilized shells of tiny aquatic organisms. Under a microscope, every particle is sharp, almost like microscopic glass. Sprinkle a thin line of it along your foundation, around door thresholds, under appliances, anywhere ants might cross. To an ant, walking across it is like walking across broken glass, while also having all the moisture stripped from its body. It is completely non-toxic to humans and pets in this form, but it has to stay dry to work, so reapply it after rain. The second layer is sealing the actual entry points, and this is the part that takes an evening with a flashlight and a tube of caulk. Ants can fit through a gap the width of a credit card. So you are looking for the small stuff around where pipes and cables enter the house, gaps under doors, cracks where the foundation meets the siding, expansion joints in the driveway, right next to the wall. I did this on my own house a few years ago and found 4 gaps I genuinely could not explain and felt personally betrayed by whoever built the place. Last thing, and this one is free, pull mulch, soil, and plant beds back a few inches from the foundation wherever you can. A thick layer of mulch pressed right up against your siding is basically a 5-star climate-controlled hotel with a direct hallway into your kitchen. And yes, I'm aware that's the closest this video gets to anything actually lawn-related. I'm taking the win. Kitchen storage, removing the food source. While you're at it, take a look inside your pantry. In Japan, rice has traditionally been kept in a sealed container called a komebitsu, an airtight rice bin, partly to keep the rice fresh and partly because an open bag of rice is an invitation taped to the wall for every pest in the house. The same logic applies to your cereal, your sugar, your flour, your pet food, anything that comes in a paper bag or a cardboard box. Ants do not care that the box says it reseals. Move it into something airtight, a jar, a sealed container, anything with a real lid that actually clicks shut. There's also a habit in Japanese households called ato shimatsu, which roughly means finishing up properly after yourself, and it sounds simple until you actually try living it for a full week. Wiping the counter after you cook, not after you go to bed. Washing the dish, not soaking it overnight, and telling yourself you'll deal with it tomorrow. Putting the pet's food bowl away after feeding time instead of leaving it out all day like a permanent buffet with a reserved sign on it. None of this is about being a perfect housekeeper, and I am certainly not one. It is about not leaving an open invitation on the counter every single night for the ants that are reading your kitchen right now like a restaurant guide and deciding where to send the whole family tomorrow. Timing wisdom, seasonal bait strategy. There is one more piece of timing wisdom worth mentioning because it makes the bait step work a lot better. What an ant colony wants to eat changes with the season, and most people offer the same bait year-round and wonder why it doesn't work. In early spring, the colony is focused on growing, feeding the queen and the new larvae, so they are hunting for protein and fat, which is when the peanut butter bait shines. By summer, the workers that are out foraging all day need quick energy, so the colony shifts towards sugar, and the sugar bait becomes the one they take home. By late summer and into fall, some species start stockpiling fat again to get through the colder months. If you put out a sugar bait and nothing happens, try a small protein bait nearby instead and see which one the scouts actually take. Whichever one disappears first is what the colony currently wants, and that is your answer, not whatever the label on a store-bought bait happens to say. One more small thing. Do the vinegar wipe down in the morning or evening when the trail is quiet, and keep it well away from your bait stations entirely. Vinegar erases trails, which is great for cleaning a counter, but it will also erase the trail leading straight to the bait you want them to carry home, and that defeats the entire point of step 1. When it's not working. Carpenter ants on super colonies. A quick word on what to do when something is not working, because every house seems to have one ant problem that refuses to follow the script. If the ants you're seeing are larger, dark, and you're finding little piles of what looks like fine sawdust near a windowsill or a baseboard, you are probably not dealing with the same species, and sugar bait alone will not solve it. Those are likely carpenter ants, and they are not after your food. They are nesting inside wood that already has a moisture problem, usually from a slow leak or old water damage. This is closer to the fence rot situation than the kitchen ant situation. The ants are a symptom. The real issue is the damp wood, and if it looks structural, that one is worth a professional inspection. If you already sprayed before finding this video, and now you seem to have ants in 3 rooms instead of 1, that is the budding I mentioned earlier. The good news is the bait method still works. It just takes more stations spread across more rooms and more patience, closer to 3 or 4 weeks instead of 2. And if you happen to be dealing with small, dark, fast-moving ants that seem to be coming from every direction at once, especially if you're somewhere warm, you might be dealing with Argentine ants, which form what scientists call super colonies, sometimes stretching for kilometers with no fighting between nests, like one enormous, slightly unsettling, cooperative city. The method is the same. You're just treating one neighborhood of a much bigger city, so don't expect the whole thing to disappear. Expect your house to stop being part of it. Let's talk costs. Let us talk costs. A bottle of white vinegar, a couple of dollars, and you probably already have one. A box of boric acid, around $6, and a teaspoon at a time means that box lasts you well over a year. A bag of food-grade diatomaceous earth, somewhere between $10 and $15, enough to line the entire foundation of an average house with leftovers for next season. A tube of caulk, about $5. All in, you are looking at under $25 to handle an entire home, and most of that is a one-time cost. Compare that to a monthly pest control contract, which typically runs $40 to $80 a month, every month, often for years, because a quarterly spray around the outside of your house treats the ants walking on the outside of your house, not the colony living inside the wall behind them. Your weekly routine. Let me give you a practical routine you can start this week. Today, find a trail. Wipe it down with the vinegar and water mix everywhere you've seen ants moving. Set out a few small bait stations nearby, sugar bait and a small peanut butter bait, away from where you wiped. Tomorrow, or whenever you have an evening free, grab a flashlight and walk the outside of your house. Sprinkle diatomaceous earth along the foundation and any thresholds, and caulk anything that looks like a gap, even a small one. While you're in the kitchen, move your sugar, cereal, flour, and pet food into airtight containers and make wiping the counterpart of finishing dinner, not part of tomorrow's chores. For the next 1 to 2 weeks, leave the bait stations alone. Do not kill the ants visiting them. Do not clean near them. Just let the line form and watch it shrink over time, which feels backwards, but it is the whole point. After that, the trail should be gone. Keep one small bait station tucked behind the stove or under the sink as quiet insurance. Refresh your diatomaceous earth line once a season, and after every good rain, take 30 seconds to glance at the foundation and make sure the line is still there. Deeper lesson. The deeper lesson here is not really about ants. It's about the difference between fighting what you can see and fixing what you can't. Most of the products on that aisle are built to win the battle on your kitchen counter, which is the one battle that was never actually the problem. The Japanese approach quietly wins the war you'll never see, using the ants' own habits against them. Honestly, the morning I realized I hadn't seen a single ant on my counter in 2 weeks, I almost missed having something to be annoyed about before coffee. Almost. If this helped, let me know down in the comments and hit subscribe for more of the Japanese method. Next week, we're covering the Japanese method for keeping cockroaches out of your kitchen for good without a single bug bomb. See you then.